now we're going to kick things off with Dr. Wendy Atkins Sayre and Dr. Andrew Haley here from the USM Food Research Group. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
It's nice to have both of you on today.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so just first, starting off, just tell me a little bit about the USM Food Research.
Well, the USM, or Southern Miss Food Research Group,
Mm-hmm.
was founded in the spring of last year, and we put together this group in order to bring together scholars and academics who are studying various aspects of food. We started in the College of Arts and Letters, but we're expanding this year to include people from across the university who look at food either in terms of public policy or in terms of history and tradition, or the way we talk about food, or the way we actually eat. And so there's all these aspects of food that have shaped Southern life, American life, and our daily lives. And we're all scholars who look at those things.
Definitely. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, it's the perfect example of interdisciplinary work. And so it really started with Andrew and I both happened to work on the fourth floor of the liberal arts building with, he's in history and I'm in communication studies. And so those initial conversations about food research led to the larger group, and we're really excited to bring so many different people together.
Okay, so I hear that you have 4 speakers. So tell me a little bit about each of them.
Yes, well, we have 2 speakers who are coming this semester, and we have 2 coming next semester. Our first speaker of the year is tonight, and I'm going to let Dr. Atkins Sayre talk about that.
Yeah, so we're very excited to kick it off tonight. All 4 lectures will happen at the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. That's the Peck House, just off campus, right by the University tennis courts. And tonight at 6 is the first lecture. And so we have Dr. Joseph Weinberg, who is an assistant professor of political science here at Southern Miss. He's also worked on Capitol Hill for 5 years, so it's kind of interesting to bring him in. He was the director of legislative affairs at the Center for the Study of Technology and Society, and before that, he was a legislative correspondent and legislative assistant for a North Carolina U.S. representative. And so his research specialty is international political economy. Tonight, he's going to bring some of his experience from the research that he's conducting and previous experience to talk about. The title is The Carrot and the Stick, the Role of Government in Nutrition.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Very interesting.
that's starting the discussion. And then, like I said, we want to bring in various perspectives. And so we also have a community member who is responding to the talk, and that's Ann McCullen, who's the executive director of Edward Street Fellowship Center. That's the biggest food pantry here in Hattiesburg, and so she's going to talk about how do these government policies affect the very people that she's serving here in Hattiesburg.
Very
Those
cool.
are our 2 speakers.
Just tell me about what it's been like putting something like this together.
Well, it's a challenge. The big challenge is that in order to bring speakers from off campus, you need money. But we have been very fortunate because this is such an interdisciplinary project. There have been sponsors from across campus. The Mississippi Humanities Council is our primary sponsor for this, and they've helped fund it. But we've also had support from the College of Arts and Letters, from Osher Lifelong Learning, from the Department of History, from the Department of Communication Studies, and also from the Center for the Study of the Gulf South. And I think, that sounds like just a list of sponsors, but I think it really speaks to the way that food touches upon so much of what we study at the University of Southern Mississippi. And so we have 3 other speakers coming in this year, and each of them will touch upon a different aspect of food, and particularly food in this state. And so we have John T. Edge, who's the director of the Southern Foodways Alliance, probably the largest organization dedicated to food studies in the United States. He's at Ole Miss, and he'll be coming down on October 29th. That'll also be at the Peck House at 3601 Pearl Street, and he'll be at 6 o'clock on October 29th. And then in the spring, really excited to say that Dr. Atkins Sayre will be introducing us to her research, which is on Southern identity and food. And in particular, she's been working on a new book, and this will be kind of the premiere of the new book.
Wow.
And in addition to that, we have Felder Rushing, who many of your audience probably knows. He is a radio host of a gardening show here in Mississippi on NPR, and he'll be talking to us about what he calls slow gardening, sustainable gardening at a time when the environment is a serious concern. So.
Very interesting. Do you have anything, Dr. Atkins Sayre?
We should probably mention that with each of these talks, we often have community members responding. So at my talk, where I talk about Southern food and Southern identity, we have local former restaurant owners who will come in and talk about some of the best Southern dishes and what it means to Southerners. And then with the John T. Edge talk and the Felder Rushing talk, we'll have faculty members responding to that. So I think it's really important that we keep coming back to the different perspectives: policy, culture, academics, community. I think there's a lot of potential.
And our goal here, right, is to get those various groups talking to each other. It's not just to have a talk that addresses what's going on in Hattiesburg versus what's going on in Washington, D.C., but to get somebody who has worked in Washington to talk to somebody who is working in Hattiesburg, right? And so to create bridges between those cultures, whether it's the culture of the past and the present, or it's political culture in everyday life. So.
Very interesting. Why would you two say that, just speaking to like a regular student, what would you say to a student just to make them feel like this relates to them and let them know that they need to be informed and knowledgeable about these things?
Well, everyone loves to talk about food. It's not hard to get people talking on this subject. And so I've actually done some guest lectures in some of the classes on campus, and one of the things I like to get them to talk about is their traditions, their family traditions and food. And so then we try to dig into that a bit more. Why do you think those foods were put on the table? Why do you think those recipes were handed down? Is there more of a meaning to it? Is there a historical perspective that we could talk about here? Communication, what does it say when you put certain foods on the table? It says something about you. It says something about your family, your history. So it's one of those topics that you can get students thinking about the relevance of the research that we do. It's not just, someone off in their office creating work. It's really, we're looking at things that affect us daily.
Very cool.
And think about how much more exciting life is when you go out to eat. And it's not just a plate of food, right? But it is a statement about the world you live in and the world that you're trying to make. I mean, the whole point of academics in some ways, of scholarship, of coming to college, is to get people to think about their world more deeply. And we all eat every single day. It's just a great way to talk about history and political science and communications and science and nutrition, all of those things tied up together. So.
Very cool. Well, tell me one more time when the first lecture is.
The first lecture is tonight. It is, again, at the Peck House. It's at 6 p.m., and there will definitely be time for audience interaction. So if there are questions or comments to be made, there'll be time for that. And the rest of the events, you can find out more about the group on our Facebook page. If you just search for Culinary Communities of Mississippi, you'll find it. And all of the events are posted there.
What's the name of the Facebook page?
Culinary Communities of Mississippi.